V8 Supercar series, in particular the Johnson Lobby. With me in the
Hello.
And Kezaudio. Say hello, guys.
Hello there, boys.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Great to be back with Motor Motion.
The golden voice himself. Yes, it's great to have you guys in the commentary box, and excited to have you here. And yeah, this exciting round that we're about to commentate on occurred on Tuesday, and a little bit of background to that. The Motor Motion Shawfire V8 Supercar Series is a two-lobby driver championship which consists of 30 drivers and 15 teams. There is two lobby driver championships. There's a top split lobby, which is the Brock lobby, which was telecast last night. And you have the Johnson lobby, which is the second split lobby, which is what we're commentating on tonight. This is round one, which is going to be at Red Bull Ring, obviously, as you can see on your screen. And this is located in Spielberg, Austria. There are 32 laps and the weather is sunny and clear. The time of the day is early morning, and of significant note is the only tyre that can be used during this series is racing softs. The track distance is 4.3 kilometres and there are 10 turns to this track. It's a favourite amongst drivers, and I'm pretty sure everyone's going to be pretty excited to, one, commentate on this and actually drive on this. Just before we move on, the series sponsor tonight is Shawfire. They are sponsoring the entire V8 Supercar series, and they provide unique solutions to your signage and display needs. From business cards and stickers to factory signage and vehicle wraps, they can make you stand out. So visit www.shawfire.com.au, and as I stated, they are the proud sponsors of the Motor Motion E Series V8 Supercars. Alright, gents. What will end up... Sorry, go on, Spud.
I was just going to say it's going to be an exciting round, this one here for the Johnson Lobby. We had our previous broadcast with the Brock Lobby where we saw an epic battle for the podium contenders, with Rolls Candy taking the victory away from myself in second place, and then Ando 787, which ended up being a brilliant race between the three of us. We did have Lewis as well in that battle pack, but unfortunately on his last stint he made a few mistakes, especially on the exit of turn one, and that just kind of ruined his chances of getting closer to us. Plus he was on a bit of a lean mixture of fuel towards the end, so his race was done.
He'll be definitely one to look out for in the next couple of rounds there, I reckon, Spud.
Yeah, absolutely.
That guy, yeah.
With two Camaros and two Fords, you can definitely say the parity is well and truly quite close here for the Shawfire Supercars Championship.
Yeah, and I think for those who may not be aware and are new to the stream and to Motor Motion, this series was a long time in the making. It was difficult to get the Camaro and the Mustang at parity. It's taken a lot of testing, and I would suggest that this is possibly one of the if not the only series on GT7 at the moment that is replicating the Repco Supercars Gen 3 format that's happening in 2023. So it's pretty special, and I think the work done has been fantastic. These cars are a handful to drive, competitive, which is just made for excellent driving, as we saw in the Brock Lobby last night.
Yeah, well, that's what they're trying to do for the next year in the supercars, is actually reduce downforce, make it a driver's car. So it is a handful, and I think the guys at Motor Motion doing a fantastic job trying to replicate that, and maybe some of those drivers will be looking at this series to hone their tasks in the main game.
Fingers crossed, eh? Alright, so what we'll do from here, we'll go to the grid and we'll look at the results of qualifying, which we'll do by going down the grid and talking about the various drivers and the teams that are on the grid in the Johnson Lobby. So bear with me as we move camera views.
We've had a couple of people join us in the chat as well on the stream. We've got Matthew Johnson and Extreme New Zealander. They've both said hello to everyone and how much they're looking forward to it. So hopefully we can do it justice like we did last night, and you guys get a bit of a kick out of it.
Absolutely. And Matthew Johnson is the chief team boss of Juiced Motorsports. So he'll be keeping an eye on his driver in flyboarding, who became a late substitute for the man that was pair lead Black Friday, who is Matthew Johnson. So he had to step back, have a bit of a break away from the racings, but he's going to be focusing his team on getting those cars up higher up in the grid. So unfortunately, with Wayne Neutron in the Brock lobby, it was a little bit of a tricky situation. We even saw a couple of times there was a bit of hovercrafting and flying all over the track before he actually could get his tyres on the ground towards the end of the race. So definitely not what Juice Motorsport wanted to have in their opening round. But it is going to be a long race here in the Johnson lobby, and I'm guessing Matthew is really excited to see what Fly can do.
All right, we'll head down the grid now. As we talked about, the qualifying order. In first, we have Squirrel 18, who is driving for Gridline Racing. Anything to say about Gridline Racing, Scotty?
I think they're going to be a team to watch, for sure.
Of course you do. So, yep, in first is Squirrel. We move down the order. We have Marty McFarty, who is a team owner of Scarborough Motorsports, in second. We then move to Wade Rushton, who is the team owner of Rushfire, a new team that replaced, got the call up at short notice and is fielding a fantastic looking blue livery.
And fourth there is RSR Robbo supporting the Bottle-O entry. Let's hope he hasn't dropped down there to the Bottle-O before he started this event. But he should be fine. Cooch is in sixth, Hellblazer in seventh.
Yep, so at the moment we've got DP Mario, who is in fifth, again the teammate to Wade Rushton for Rushfire Racing, so he's done quite well. As described now, Cooch in sixth, racing for Black Rose Racing.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see the two cars from Black Rose Racing down in the Johnson lobby. So the team owner, Jimmy Superfly, he's not racing in the Shawfire Supercars Championships. So it's very interesting to not see a familiar team in the main lobby. But obviously he's got himself a great lineup in Cooch and Tim Pearce as well in the car number 9 in the Camaro SS. So it'll be very exciting to see.
Beautiful looking car too. Hellblazer in 7th, again for Diffusion Race Engineering, and is the team owner, I believe. Move to Osto 101, who is the team owner of Ned Racing. He is in this lobby with Extreme NZ in the Johnson lobby. As Spud described, Fly Balding, who's replaced the team owner for Juiced Motorsports, and he qualified 9th. And we have Roddy Dongs in the Black Rose Racing car, qualified 10th. And Mad Rick from Jack Daniels Racing, qualified 11th. And we have Uncle Mark, or Golden Alpine, who is part of Scarborough Motorsports, and he qualified in 12th. We have the first of the ISA boys from ISA Esports with Benjo, who qualified in 13th position. And we have Marchie, who is the teammate of Benjo for ISA Esports, and he is in 14th.
Yeah, Marchie's had a big break from sim racing for the last 12 months. He's taken his time off. He's been trying to do a cookbook, believe it or not. 50 of your best Marchie pizzas. He's pulled that up short at the moment. He's on 48, so unfortunately he hadn't been able to get that book published. So he's back into sim racing for this year, and it's great to see him back on the track.
Very good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we got Bruce Lightning rounding up the 15-man field, one of the new teams in this series. It's Racing Esports, so the team owner, It's Racing himself, was meant to be in the Brock lobby as well in the opening round, but unfortunately due to some sprint car issues, he had to delay his start for his Motormotion esports campaign, and he's got himself his teammate Briz Lightning rounding up or bearing the flag for its racing esports.
Okay, so what we're going to do is get ready to commence the telecast. The telecast is commencing now.
Revs are rising for the first round of the Johnson Lobby, and we are underway. Squirrel's got himself a brilliant start over Marty McFarty, but Marty's going to be tucking in to the rear end of Squirrel. But we see Cooch coming in, trying to make a 4 wide going into turn 1. It's a little bit unheard of with these big wide cars, no downforce and really long braking distance with these Camaros and Mustang. But Squirrel leads ahead of Marty and then ahead of Wade in third place. Robbo going for an inside move for Diffusion Racing, and he makes that move stick, so beautifully done. But Ruzzy's coming back on the outside, but it looks like Robbo's got that position sealed. He does. So there we have Ruzzy and then his teammate DP Mario in the top 5. Cooch, the first of the Black Rose Racing Camaros, in 6th place, and then Hellblazer with Osto rounding up himself in the top 8 for Ned Racing.
We're pretty clean around the back here. Everyone away. No touchies at turn 3, which is good to see.
It's always what we'd like to see in the lobbies. Have a nice bit of a clean run on the opening lap. As with these cars, especially for the lower lobbies, you expect them to be going all hell for bent, trying to win it on the first corner. But all the boys looks like they've done very well, and everything is going pretty smoothly. So we look about between first and last place, we're looking at about 4.5 to 5 second gap between first and 15th place, but still leading the way. Squirrel is keeping that car nice and steady, the first of the Camaros in Squirrel 18, and then Marty McFarlane the first of the Mustangs. So as I said, the parity is pretty close with these cars as Rossi just gets out of shape a little bit on the exit of turn 1, which might open the door for his teammate DP Mario, and then Kutch might be coming in for a double move on the Rushton cars in 6th place, but looks like DP Mario goes to the move. Kutch follows him as well, so good move there for Kutch there. So Rossi goes from 4th to 6th place, and Kutch takes full advantage of that for Black Rose Racing. He's going to get another Rushton Mustang going into turn 4. No, he's going to tuck back in. And he's in a bit of a Mustang sandwich, but it looks like DP Mario's run a bit wide on the exit of turn 4, and Kutch takes the inside, and he takes 2 of those Rushton Mustangs and will hold it just around the outside of DP Mario. You can do it. You get a little bit more grip in these cars going the outside line than taking the inside line, and Kutch up into 4th place, but runs it a little bit wide, so it's a beautiful battle pack going in there for 3rd. DP Mario, getting all squirrely on the exit of turns 6 and 7. Drops back behind his teammate, and Hellblazer's just keeping his eye on the Rushfire Mustangs.
Ben Baker's made up 2 positions. He's had a good start from back. He's moved from 13th to 10th. Now putting a bit of pressure on Fly. And looks like he might get that done at turn 1. Yes, he has.
So the man that lead that runs ISA eSports is in 9th place. So very good start for the debuting team in ISA eSports in 9th place. But we have Hellblazer in 7th, really putting some pressure on the Rushfire Mustangs. He's going to be thinking about trying to save a bit of fuel here. Just don't want to really work your way up the order too much. You really want to be using this first stint just to play with the fuel. Just try and learn how much you can rev the car out and how much you need to short shift. So you see DP Mario, contact between the 2 teammates, between Wade and DP Mario, compromising their run, and Hellblazer might come in for an opportunity down at turn 5, but he's going to stick back, and Osto looking very pretty in 8th place in that very striking blue and black Camaro from Ned Racing.
Looks like a bit of team orders happening, Spud there.
Oh, it's Team Morris, but he's coming into the clutches of Hellblazer. The two teammates.
Split them up the middle, maybe?
Oh, they're going to go side by side and down into turn 9. Looks like they still haven't changed the order, so looks like Wade is still ahead in 5th place, DP Mario in 6th, and Hellblazer is now coming under pressure from Osto, so Osto's going to be the ones making the move. It looked like it was going to be Hellblazer. DP Mario goes for a late move, deep into the brakes, going into turn 1, and contact between Hellblazer and Osto. DP Mario going for an ambitious move into turn 1, knew he couldn't pull the car up, so he had no choice but to straight line it, nearly taking out his teammate, and Hellblazer drops from 7th all the way down to potentially 12th place going into turn 3.
He's on Maverick now at the moment, see if he can catch that up. Oh, he's not happy.
Oh, that's a very unfortunate situation for Hellblazer to be in. Unfortunately, get caught up in that incident between the two teammates from Rushfire, and then we had Osto right behind. I think Osto had nowhere else to go, so I think that's why he tags Hellblazer towards the end there. But we have the ICE esports boys inside the top 10 after all those mistakes going from everyone. Roddy Dong's ahead of Ice Benjo in 8th place. He's carrying a 1 second penalty, so definitely corner cut going into that first corner. But Roddy Dong's just going to have to serve it. The 1 second, you don't really lose too much time with that 1 second penalty compared to what you would have in a standard race car, Group 3 or Group 4. You don't really lose too much time, but for Roddy Dong's just going to drop back down to at least 10th, maybe 11th place, just behind Hellblazer. Yeah, he's just stuck in right behind in 11th place.
Benjo's burning a lot more fuel than the rest, so he's obviously happy with his start, and he's pressing on like big time. So he's only got half a tank of juice at the moment, where the rest are a little bit over. So he's pushing hard. He's having a good run.
Absolutely, and he's got about half a tank of fuel there, so he might be able to get himself to the end of lap 10. But on lap 5, looks like Kutch has been saving quite a lot of fuel compared to the rest. That Camaro is from Black Rose Racing, is doing an outstanding job with the fuel saving. We do know from all the testing that the Camaro is a little bit better with the fuel saving compared to the Mustang. The Mustang, you really have to try and save a lot of fuel compared to the Camaro, so it's a bit of a hard strategy to try and save fuel but also race hard at the same time, as we see Marty putting pressure on Squirrel and really trying to get to the back of him, thinking about a move going to these next few laps.
Ben Baker's just botched it. He's back to 11th. He's had an off at turn 5.
It's been unlucky, but Marty's got himself a really good run out of turn 10. He's going to be right under the rear wing of the Gridline Racing Camaro, car 18. You're going
putting in some consistent laps, Marty.
Absolutely. You can see those 1:27.2s. That's the personal best, and 1:27.4, 1:27.3, and Squirrel's even in the 1:27 flats. But Marty right under the rear wing. He's going to go looking for a move on Squirrel 18. Looks like Squirrel's outbraked himself a little bit. It looks like he must have just gone a little bit wide there, but Marty struggling on the exit of turn 3 and can't get himself closer to Squirrel 18 going into turn 4. Osto in the net racing in 6th place. The yellow curbing, the sausage curve on the outside of turn 3. And for Osto, that looks like it could be game over. For
all those cars to go past before he can turn the car around.
So all the way back down from 6th to 15th, and that's going to be a very long recovery drive for Osto 101.
It's carrying damage, front aero and front right suspension is broken on that car.
Unlucky.
As we see Squirrel and Marty still continuing their battles that they've had in previous years, but he's got a brilliant run on Squirrel. He's going to go for an inside move as we go on board with Marty McFarlane going to turn 1, lap 7 on 32. Can he outbrake the Camaro? No, he can't. Squirrel with the better braking confidence into turn 1. A Squirrel not getting the traction that he wants, and Marty getting himself a brilliant run out of turn 1. He's the one with putting all the pressure on Squirrel 18. Squirrel able just to break himself a little bit deep, but he's gone a little bit too deep there into turn 3. And Marty still trying to make a move, find a move on Squirrel 18 as he's going to go side by side yet again, going to turn 4. He's going to tuck back in, or is he going to go for a move? Runs the car a bit wide, but he's going to have to hang back, hang tight, and try again. But man, I think that's the best opportunity that Marty could have gotten throughout this whole race to think about making a move for the lead of this.
Oh, Razzo's just gone off. He's gone off at turn 4. Still a big gap to the next guy. Hellblazer had to serve a 3-second penalty, so he's done a big cut, and he's gone from 7th down to 10th. Now he's still fighting with Ben Baker.
Very unlucky there for Hellblazer. It's just gone from bad to worse for Hellblazer, unfortunately. I think he must have, I have a feeling he may have passed the car under yellow flags, which would have given him that potential 3-second penalty. So it's very unlucky, just the day goes from bad to worse for Hellblazer, but he's going to do his best to try and push himself up further up the grid. But the man really to keep an eye on is Kutch from Black Rose Racing, hanging around in 4th place. He's got a bit of pace in that Camaro to burn, but he's not really using a lot of fuel compared to the rest, so he's saving a lot more fuel compared to what Squirrel, Marty and Robbo are doing. And Robbo looks like he's just struggling to get a bit of traction on that Car 20 Diffusion Racing Mustang.
Robbo's got the better tyre. Kutch doesn't, he's using his tyres a lot, but not much fuel, so you could see them pit at the same time. But yeah, as you say, this will be a good battle coming up here. Yeah,
absolutely, and the Mustang is very sensitive on the power, that when you do get out of a low traction zone, that you do use the rears up a lot. You even start wheel spinning in 4th gear. It's incredible how much power the Mustang has in these with the specifications that we have here for the Shawfire Supercar series. Whereas Camaro versus Mustang, the Gen 3 of the real life racing in V8 Supercars, where we've got the introductions. We say farewell to the Gen 2 Holden and a Ford. Now we're going in for Ford versus a Chevrolet. Camaro versus Mustang as the two teammates, Ruzzy and DP Mario, still fighting it out for 6th place. So there's no team orders here at Rushfire, and they're going to be battling themselves very hard going into the end of this race as DP Mario comes in on lap 8 of 32. So that's a very early pit stop, boys. He's used up a lot of fuel.
He's out of juice.
Yeah, so he's going to be, if he's pitting on lap 8, he's probably going to be thinking about doing a 3-stopper, because that's not a good fuel economy going on with the Rushfire camp. But Kutch is really trying to close up towards Robbo Sport in 3rd place, and he's really putting a lot of pressure on him.
Ben Baker's just in, and Hellfire as well. They had a well, not a coming together, but an off there at turn 5. Went out and visited the weeds and had a look, take on some fuel. They're out of fuel as well.
Absolutely. So it looks like Squirrel saved a lot of fuel, so he could probably go for another couple of laps in the Car 18, with Marty McFarlane using a little bit more fuel compared to the Camaro. So he might be trying to think about really fuel saving this next lap, and maybe even think about going for another cut, because he's a little bit quicker than Squirrel on those previous laps, but he's just dropped off a little bit behind the Gridline Racing driver in 2nd place, and that's giving Robbo and Kutch the opportunity to try and pressure Marty for 2nd place, and while Marty was battling with Squirrel for the lead of the race on lap 7. So Robbo and Kutch right on the tail of the Scarborough Motorsport team boss.
Yeah, Kutch has got his head down here. He's he can see what's on offer. His fuel's good, his tyres are good. Just probably needs to relax and not get too much excited, but if he can catch up to that Robbo Sport car, he's in it. He's in a good spot. He's got no pressure from behind. 5th is miles away from him. Just need to focus on the on his. Well, I haven't saw commentator's curse. He's in the gravel trap.
Oh, that's very unlucky there for Kutch. So trying to really outbreak himself, really trying to drive these cars very hard, and that's what the series is all about. You're really trying to push this car to its limit, but when you do push it to its limit, it does bite, and it bites really hard, so very unlucky there for Kuch. A couple of honourable mentions here. We have Madrick in 6th place and Uncle Mark in 8th place, doing themselves a really good job. I know a few drivers have made a pit stop, but it's good to see those guys, the leader of the Jack Daniels Racing, and then also Golden Alpine, Uncle Mark, the uncle to Marty McFarty inside the top 8 as well, as we see both Marty and Robbo, two Mustangs, in the pit lane.
Yeah, they're out of fuel, so they need to do it. Squirrels, he's probably potentially got another 2 laps of fuel left, so yeah, his economy is really good. Kuch, he's the one to watch. He's using a fair bit of his front tyres though, so that's a bit, just haven't said that, his lights on, so he'll be in this lap definitely. Squirrel could potentially do another lap easy, but that's a good pickup for Kuch. Maverick is, that's not his team, mate, is it?
Yeah, so Maverick, the team owner of Jack Daniel Racing, in 3rd place, doing, even though the drivers haven't made a pit stop, it's still a good confidence boost for Maverick just to go for that extra lap compared to the Mustang drivers. And also, even Marty's teammate Uncle Mark is able to go an extra lap in that Mustang. So there's something a little bit, maybe something the strategists are trying to play up in the Scarborough Motorsport camp to sell the dummy and try for an undercut and try to do 2 different strategies, just like you normally see in the real world racing in the Supercars Championship and even in the highly competitive motorsports all around the world, as Uncle Mark just makes a bit of a mistake going out on the exit of turn 4, loses a couple of positions to Flyboarding and Osto 101.
1 and 2 are in the pits now. Kuch is struggling on those front tyres. He's struggling to turn the car. A little bit more fuel for Squirrel, only 3 litres. But yeah, Kuch he's got problems with his front tyres. That could be his downfall for this one.
Yeah, usually something like that, you'll be playing a lot with the. What you could say is you can play a lot with the brake balance as well, so he must have his brake balance all the way up to the front and maybe using a bit of heavy traction control, so that probably may be hampering his confidence under brakes here. But Marty is just looking on Flyboarding, he makes a run on Flyboarding, Fly drops down to 3rd. Fly, interesting enough for Juice Motorsport, is actually running a very different strategy here. He's running a little bit longer, he saves quite a fair amount of fuel, running on older tyres compared to Marty and Robert Fire. And Marty's taken a little bit of a half spin on the exit of turn 3, so Marty drops the position behind Robbo Sports. So the 2 that were fighting it out for 2nd place before they pitted the lap. Robbo's now ahead of Marty McFarty, looks to make a move on Flyboarding. But yeah, going back to Flyboarding, looks like he might be running an alternate strategy, just with with more fuel, and trying to maybe even think about, I don't know. Do you think potentially you could go for a 1-stop? Because the fuel is quite incredible with Flyboarding.
Saw the gentleman last night trying to do a 1-stop, and the engineer for that car is at the CES at the moment trying to get his paycheck. Fly is up seven positions at the moment. He started off grid 7, so he saved quite a lot of fuel. He won't make it to the critical stop, which I believe is lap 20. Would that be right?
It would be around about lap 22 would be your critical lap number. End of lap 22, start of lap 23 to make it home safely. But Flyboarding, if he runs this strategy that he's going to be running right now, he has the potential of doing the 1-stop, because he doesn't look like he's revving the car out. Actually, no, he is actually revving the car out, but it might be on a lower fuel mixture compared to what the others are going around. As Marty looks to make a move on Fly, no, so Marty's being held up here by Flyboarding, ladies and gentlemen. He is really struggling to get past that Juice Motorsport, and the team boss is in the comments below. He's actually keeping an eye on Flyboarding. He's going to be cheering his man on to try and pull away and try and defend away from Marty, and even Kuch is right behind Marty, so he's going to be putting pressure on the Scarborough Motorsport. So it's just going from bad to worse. for Scarborough Motorsport as Marty thinks about a move going into turn 5. No, he's just going to stick back and just try and wait. But all this waiting is letting Robbo and Squirrel pull ahead. But as I look ahead, Squirrel looks like he's made a bit of a mistake on the last couple of laps. Squirrel looks like he's just lost a bit of time. A little bit of a lead to Robbo Sport, and Robbo's closed up very nicely onto the back of Squirrel 18. Gridline versus Diffusion. The return of Gridline Racing after taking a hiatus in 2022 is coming back in the year 2023 and doing themselves a very good job with a great pairing of Squirrel 18 and Dual Scotty. Dual Scotty getting himself in 6th place in the Brock Lobby. But what about Squirrel 18? Can he get that team high up into the grid? Can he get their first win in the Shawfire Supercars E-Series? We'll find out. But Diffusion Racing looking very strong with Robbo at the helm.
Fly's just lost 2 positions. He's back to 5th. He's definitely on that one stopper. So looking at, he'd probably be in lap 18, I believe. Oh no, he's probably around lap 18. He's got a quarter of a tank of juice left. His tyres are good. He's putting up a solid battle with the front runners there. So his strategy's looking alright. His car looks okay. He's just having to give away a little bit now at the moment.
Question about the just a question about the Juice Motorsports car. It's jacked up really high. Why would it be jacked up that high?
I'll say it's probably maybe for him to run a little bit more on the curbing. So just be a little bit more confident on the curbs, especially those sausage curbs on the entry of turn 1, on the exit of turn 1, and then even on the exit of turn 3. Because I guess in a way you need a lot of good clown. I guess for Juice Motorsport they were looking just for a little bit of just a bit of comfort going over the bumps, because I did notice that even in the other lobby with Wayne, Neutron, unfortunately for him, he tried a different strategy, which was hovering over the curves. It worked for him, but what didn't get him high up the grid. So yeah, a bit of an interesting strategy going on for Juice Motorsport. And yeah, I just have a feeling it just maybe Flyer's not confident with the way the car is actually running on this track, so maybe that's why he's gone for a higher ride height option.
Well, Wayne was very high last night in this race, hovering all over the place.
Yeah.
He did come good after a pit stop, so...
Absolutely. Yeah, he did have a few problems in the Brock Lobby. He actually didn't qualify. That's why we saw him far down the order, because he actually he couldn't even get onto the track to qualify his car on the race night. So he had to start all the way from the rear of the grid. So technical issues and a bit of a malfunction in that Juice Motorsport Camaro for Wade Neutron, and he started at the rear of the field. So didn't have the greatest race for round 1, but we'll look to see him come back in round 2 next week. But it looks like Fly's holding his end of the bargain, holding on to 5th place.
He's in fantastic drive, yeah. He's on lap 5th. Oh, his lights just come on in the for the fuel, so probably be in 16. Mass guide, 16 and 16 is what? He can do it. He's on the one stop.
Absolutely. As we start to look down towards the lower half of the field, they're not really getting much camera time, so we might as well look down the field. We had Briz Lightning down the rear of the field for the It's Racing Esports Motorsports. It's Racing Esports Camaro with Ison Benjo in 14th, and then Golden Alpine Uncle Mark, everyone's favourite uncle, in 13th place. And then we have
just
help
putting a big move on Marchie now. There he goes. Boom.
Ooh, around the outside there. So with Jack Daniels Racing up inside the top 10, and Marchie just dropping outside in 11th place. So the highest of the ISA Mustangs in 11th place, and Isa Benjo in 14th. So Marchie doing himself a really good job.
Great fuel economy in the Marchie car, but the tyre wear is terrible. He's lighting the rears up. He's chewed up most of his rears. That's where the setup for that car is not working for him.
Doesn't look like it from what I can see. And then we just have to talk about Hellblazer down in 12th place, where he was fighting it out for inside the top 5. So all's just gone downhill for Hellblazer. He's just not having the best run on lap 16 or 32 at all. We're about approaching half the race distance, ladies and gentlemen. We still have our front runners up the front, Squirrel, Robbo and Marty McFarty inside the top 3. So still putting on a great battle between those 3 as we now see Fly Boarding make himself into the pit lane finally. So end of lap 16. So
one stop
if he keeps it, he could definitely do a one stop. If he keeps that pace and he not putting a lot of pressure on anybody and he just lets others go by him, he can definitely do it.
His tyre wear is fantastic. Like, it's beautiful. I think that car, as Squirrel was saying, the ride height must have something to do with that car. They must unlock something that's working, because you saw Rusty last night with his one stop was an absolute disaster, and Fly's making this work.
Absolutely. So Fly's really doing himself a good job with the Juiced Motorsport. Trying that ambitious one stop. Rudzi here, or Rudzi rather, he's got really bad tyre wear, really poor tyre wear, and he's got to try and get himself at least another good couple of laps as he's sliding the car on the exit of turn 8, really trying to get that Rushfire Mustang to work through those corners. But I will say, with first-hand experience, the Mustang does not like that little flick left and right on the turn 7, turn 8 chicane. It is not its favourite area to be to get the power down, because the tail end just really slides out a lot. As we've seen DP Mario in the pit lane, so that's an interesting one. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We have a good battle pack here for second place. It looks like Squirrel's just pulled away a little bit ahead from Robbo Sport. Robbo was really attacking the rear end of the Gridline Racing Car 18. Now Marty and Kutch are in the fight for position 2. Yes, so it is position 2. I thought I saw I just got a little bit mixed up there. Yeah, but P2 is on offer here for 3 drivers: Robbo, Marty and Kutch. And as we said earlier in the broadcast, Kutch is one to keep an eye on, ladies and gentlemen. He's been putting a lot of good laps in. He's been putting on some good pressure, and he's gone purple at the end of sector 2 here. So a lot of confidence in that Black Rose Racing Camaro as he looks to go for an inside move on turn 9. This is a very tricky corner to make an inside move. Mark brakes early, and Kutch tries to go for the inside, runs it wide, and Marty takes a beautiful switch back on the Black Rose Racing driver, and rivalry resumes between Scarborough Motorsport and Black Rose Racing. The battle for third, Marty versus Kutch, giving Robbo a little bit of breathing space for diffusion in second place. Marty just runs the car a little bit deep going into turn 1. Kutch is going to have a better exit on the exit going into turns 2 and 3. But Kutch is going to think about making a move on the inside, tucking in underneath the rear wing, getting into that slipstream, runs the car onto the inside. They're going to both be braking late to try and get ahead. Marty brakes later. So Kutch is actually not going for the move there. So beautiful racing between Scarborough Motorsports, Marty, the team boss Marty, and Kutch in 4th place as we see Ruzzy finally make that pit stop after the horrible tyre wear that he's got from the Rushfire Racing. Very late entries, as mentioned on the top of the broadcast, that the Rushfire didn't really get too many laps of practice, so they're really under fire on this first round of the Shawfire Supercar Series, but they're doing themselves really well if they keep themselves inside the top 8.
Kutch is he's wearing a bit more tyres, but he's got a lot more fuel than Marty, so this will be on in the pit stops here. I don't know, he's going to fight.
Oh, he's going to think about a move on Marty. Marty sees him, he opens the door, and Kutch, so close. Marty just had to react very late on the move from Kutch. 426, unfortunate, car 426, thinking about a move on Marty. Marty saw it, but he was looking to close it, and then Kutch just showed his nose, and Marty just had to open the door, compromising both runs from the Mustang and the Camaro, still allowing Robbo to pull away from this battle pack and hold P2 and try to put some pressure on Squirrel in first place. So it's a good battle pack amongst these 4. So it's something very similar to what we saw in the... Kutch gone for a very late move. Marty McFarty, can you make the move stick? Wow,
he's out of it now. Too much wheel spin, but
that was incredible. That was a beautiful braking there by Kutch.
That was good racing from both of them, yeah. No
Absolutely.
contact.
Oh, Marty's run a little touch wide on the exit of turn 4. Kutch could try and capitalise it. Better run on the outside of turn 4. Thinking about making a move into turn 5. No. Has a little peak, but not gonna take the bag of lollies. So Kutch is gonna slip back into 4th place. Marty still holds on to 3rd, but it's a great racing. Oh, both run wide. Oh no, never mind. There was a bit of a lag spike between those drivers, so looked like they were both running wide onto the gravel trap, but no, not meant to be. Marty covers the inside. Kutch is going to go for the inside move again. He's on the inside. Ah, he still holds on. This is great racing, ladies and gentlemen, here in the Johnson lobby for Shawfire Supercar Series. We've got Marty in 3rd, Kutch in 4th, battling it out for the last place on the podium, while Robbo Sport and Squirrel 18 pull away from these two. Kutch is going to try and think about making a good exit out of turn 1. Marty runs wide on the exit of turn 1, so that's going to compromise his braking abilities into turn 3. As we see ahead, Robbo gets himself a half-second penalty, and Kutch has got a much better run going into turn 3. He's going to brake a little bit later compared to Marty. Marty brakes the car quite late, but on dirty tyres, he's got no hope to try and get that switchback move on Kutch, and Kutch finally takes 3rd place away from Marty McFarlane. So brilliant racing from the Black Rose Racing driver, and he takes 3rd place, a well-deserved 3rd place, and great racing amongst those two. Robbo Sport, unfortunately, getting himself a half-second penalty, and he's in heavy traffic with the ISA Esports drivers in both ISA Benjo and Marchie Boy.
No, well done, boys. They're keeping out of the way there.
Looks like they're keeping themselves a good space amongst each other, letting the fast guys through. Yes, we see Squirrel and Robbo very nicely there.
I suspect you'll see Robbo in this lap, and Marty will be in this lap. Squirrel's probably he will stay out, and Kutch will stay out.
So Kutch, I think, will stay out at least for another lap. He could probably go for a potential 2 laps, but he's going to probably run the same as what Squirrel is doing up ahead. So yes, you said Robbo is in on 1% of fuel, and Marty on 3% of fuel. So not the best second stint for Marty, just having to really defend from Kutch 426, which meant he had to use a little bit more fuel in that Scarborough Motorsport Mustang. So that's just what dropped him down a little bit. But Robbo and Marty, the 2 Mustangs, 3rd and 4th at the moment, taking on their fuel stop, and for the last time here in the Johnson lobby. But Squirrel 18 still holding on very nicely in 1st place with Kutch 426. So he could definitely be a potential threat to Squirrel if he gets himself closer towards the back end of this race as well.
So Flyers is still in 7th, the 1-stopper, Flyer with the 1-stop. He's going to run all the way to the end there, so it'll be interesting. Hellblazers in the pits.
Yep, so Rozzy is really using the full potential of the car, while Flyer might be running a little bit more conservative than that. As you can see there, going onto the main straight, you can definitely see Flyboarding is really not putting the full revs on that car, or the full potential. Oh, as Rozzy
what's happened there?
Just got out of shape on the exit of turn 1, nearly collects his teammate on the exit of it, but he just got a little bit too wide going to turn 1, and then just caught a bit of wheel spin, put him onto the grass, and unfortunately that drops him behind his teammate in a position 8. And as we see, the 2 Camaros, both Squirrel and Kutch, in the pit lane for the last time here for the Shawfire Supercar Series. We have Squirrel, we have Kutch in pit lane, and we're going to see where Robbo and Marty come out between these two. So Robbo's coming up towards turn 9, the double right-hander. So both these drivers will need to put a full tank of fuel. The undercut can provide to be strong around this track, but you have to really keep it on the black tarmac to try and get any potential of getting that undercut to work. As Squirrel's put his fuel in the car, we can see him at the top of the pit lane. Robbo is definitely ahead of Kutch, but can Robbo get himself closer to Squirrel 18 with this undercut? Shall wait and see what the gap is like.
Robbo's got him.
Looks like Robbo hasn't gained a little bit on Squirrel, but not much. But I think Kutch has definitely gained a lot on Robbo Sport as well. So you can definitely see as well with the
Robbo's gone wide.
Robbo runs a bit wide. Kutch has now got a potential to make the move going into turn 4. Robbo's going to be a little bit hesitant on the braking because he's just run the car wide. Robbo versus Kutch, so Kutch just had to deal with one Mustang. He has to deal with another one from Diffusion Racing. So Kutch in the clutches of the rear end of Diffusion Racing's Robbo Sport. Oh, Robbo runs the car wide. Kutch sees an opportunity on the inside. He's going to go into the second place side by side into turn 7.
Job done.
Beautifully done. Job done there by Kutch 426. Brilliant job. Now, here's the question. Can Kutch really pile on the pressure on Squirrel 18 with only 10 laps to go, or about 9 laps to go rather, my apologies. Kutch versus Squirrel, the two Camaras, first and second place, the highest of the Mustangs, Robbo Sport in third, and then we have Marty McFarty, DP Mario, Ruzzy, the rest of the 4 Mustangs in the top 6, as we see Uncle Mark giving way to Squirrel 18 a lap down.
Kutch did short fuel. He short fueled because he knows he didn't need to fill the whole tank, so that's what's put him in the position that he is now. I'm just worried about his tyre wear again. The tyre wear doesn't seem that good in that Corvette compared to Robbo's Mustang. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's maybe the downfall. But anyway, it looks like a good battle happening. So.
Yeah, looks like it's a very good racing here, but Kutch has definitely pulled away from Robbo Sport, so he's going to be setting his eyes on Squirrel 18 for the lead of this Johnson lobby here at Motormotion E-Series. Thank you for joining us here this evening. It's a great pleasure to commentate this wonderful race that we're having here at Red Bull Ring in Austria in the city of Spielberg, and we are excited to have our Shawfire Supercars opening this race as we see DP Mario go really late on the brakes there and just pots it in the gravel trap at turn 4. Very unlucky there for DP Mario as he was looking to get himself a solid top 5 with his teammate right behind him, but he's going to have to work hard again to try and get himself back into 5th place. Fly Boarding still running that one-stop strategy, still holding up very nicely to P7 there, Kez, and he's looking really good to keep that position if he has no more challenges.
I think Mario unfortunately is a bit short on fuel. Whether he has to pit again or might have to use the to back it off a little bit. Oh, yeah, there you go. Said that, he's gone in. He knows he's short. DP Mario's just pitted. That puts Fly up to 6th. He's done well after starting from 9th, so he's on for a good result. And P5 just in front of him has just picked up a 1 second penalty for turn 1.
Oh yeah, that's a little bit unlucky there for Ruzzy in 5th place. I think he needs to be making a pit stop later on as well, because he hasn't been able to manage his fuel compared to what the rest of the grid is doing. As we did say, Rushfire Racing is the latest entrant in the Motormotion E-Series Mustang Series. Supercar Series, and yeah, so they didn't really get too much practice time under them, so they're a little bit behind on practice, but them doing themselves a really good job to at least be up in that top 5 on that and within those opening laps of the race, as Uncle Mark is really struggling to get that Mustang on the track. But as I did see there on the background there, we did see Osto is up into 5th place now. So Osto with a recovery drive, with a wonderful recovery drive by Ned Racing, as we see Ruzzy have a bit of an accident there. He's just run a little bit too deep.
You got Uncle Mark that's under blues, but then you got Rondy Dongs has parked the car. He's parked it in the sand trap.
Oh yes, I can see it up into turn 4. Looks like we can see a car stuck at turn 4. We don't know who that is, but we'll get more.
Rondy Dongs, yeah. Rondy Dongs, he's in 15th.
So as you see there, yeah, so there you
he's
go.
Just pitted, so hopefully that's not a yellow flag.
It is a yellow flag, but it looks like everyone's managing that very nicely, not making any overtakes. So that's a very interesting one. Cool. So must be a mechanical fault going on there in the car number 9 for Black Rose Racing. Roddy Dong's having a bit of a technical issue. Maybe he needs to do a Control-Alt-Delete with his Camaro just to try and get it back up and running. But it looks like he's parked there, just like what Carlos Sainz did last year in the Formula 1 Championship, just parked his car with this. But unfortunately for him, his car was on fire. I don't think Roddy Dong's car's on fire. I don't know if you can see that, Kez.
Nah, it's not on fire there, mate.
There you go.
It's, it looks like he's probably got a beach
in that car.
He's got a beach towel out and he's sunbathing.
Absolutely. He's going to be... Yeah, but very interesting to see there. As we see one Black Rose Racing parked up, beached up in turn 4, we see another Black Rose Racing challenging for the lead of the Johnson Lobby. And on lap 27 of 32, Squirrel versus Kutch. The two Mustangs. Squirrel takes too much curving on the inside. Kutch runs the car very deep, so both losing equal amount of time towards each other, but the gap still stays the same. Yellow flags are still out for Roddy Dongs. But no one's making a move. Yeah, so no one's making the moves just yet down into turn 4, which is very good driving. But Kutch really applying the pressure on Squirrel for these last few laps. Great racing to see. So two Camaros battling it out for first and second place, with the first of the Mustangs, Robbo Sport, in third. Marty McFarlane very unlucky to not even very much putting himself in contention on lap 7, trying to pressure Squirrel 18 for the lead of the race. But Squirrel 18 held his nerves, kept his calm, and he's still holding on to the lead. Leading from lap 1, taking pole position as well, and he's got the fastest lap as well. So Squirrel 18 is almost, you could say, having a clean race of the perfect race to the start of the Shawfire Supercar series.
Definitely no pressure up until now. Yeah, Kutch is still using a little. Oh no, his tyres are okay. Fuel's fine.
Yeah, looks like they might go to the end there. I wonder if the Mustangs behind Robbo and Marty might struggle.
Robbo's tyres are okay, fuel's okay, Marty's just fine, not a problem there. Augusta, well, he's a fair bit of a way back, but yeah, no problem with the front 4. It's just this yellow flag at turn 4 that's not really cool.
Yeah, it can, when you do see a yellow flag, it is really distracting, especially when you're trying to race, especially if you're trying to race for the lead, which is what Squirrel and Kutch are trying to battle it out for. But yeah, having that yellow flag just flashing on the top of your screen just really gets irritating, and you just want to say to that driver, just get out of the way, or just disconnect from the lobby, please, because I just want to race. And Kutch is like, I just want to make a move down to turn 4, because he doesn't have too many opportunities to make a move. He's only got turn 1 and turn 3, and then even there turn 4. Yeah, that's it. You've got nowhere else to make a on Marty down towards turn 9 and 10. You definitely saw he couldn't really pull that off as much, but because they were battling out and duking it out really hard, that definitely has cost Kutch a lot of time to potentially even leading this race. So the battle that he had with Marty really hampered his chance of getting himself right up towards on the lead driver in Squirrel 18 at B in position 1.
So Squirrel's just catching up to a back marker in Brits. Brits is out of the way. Yep, nicely done, mate. Thank you for doing that. But here it is now. He's a little bit far back now, but he can't overtake in one of the overtaking positions down here. No. If Squirrel goes wide and he overtakes, Kutch ends up with a 3-second penalty for overtaking under yellows.
Absolutely.
So
definitely not what Kutch wants. And with Kutch in that Black Rose Racing really trying to push and pressure Gridline Racing Squirrel 18 into making a mistake, but Squirrel's really holding on very nicely for these last 3 laps of the Grand Prix. As we would say, some honourable mentions as well for this race. We have Osto 101, as we did see on the opening stages of the race. Osto 101, we did see him facing the wrong direction there on the top of turn 3, on the exit of turn 3. He's now back up into 5th place, so basically where he was before he made that mistake. So I would say a very top drive there by Osto 101 for the team boss of Ned Racing to get that car back up into 5th place and put himself in a really good position for Osto 101 And then even as well, Hellblazer down in 6th place. He's done a nice recovery drive as well. So we did have our doubts with Hellblazer, but he's come through very nicely, and he set the fastest lap on lap 27. So taking that fastest lap away from Squirrel in first. And then we have Fly with a 1-stop, brilliantly holding on to 7th position. And he's got no pressure behind him whatsoever. DP Murray is very far away.
Just in the battle then, flying Hellblazer just in a bit of a battle there at the moment. But these yellow flags have moved, so just let me try and... Okay, Roderick's back in the car. He's back in the car. He is doing circle work. Okay.
I can see that he's doing his best impression of Valtteri Bottas in 2020 in the Styrian Sprint qualifying, unfortunately.
Okay.
So he's doing his very good impressions.
I'll just try and get a hold of Charles Wobbly from the race control and see what he's got to say about this. Better known as Chuck Wobbly.
Absolutely.
To see what's going on.
Yeah, definitely want to keep an eye on. And then we see Marchie there, so he hasn't made it to the end. So only 3 laps of fuel, or 3% fuel in his car, and he's had to do an extra stop. So that's the risk that you play driving these cars, that we do get a lot of you do have that potential of really revving the car out, but revving the car out isn't really the best option with these highly customized, high tuning components added to this car. Marty McFarty with a 1-second penalty, but he's got no pressure at all from the cars behind him or the car ahead of him. So looks like Marty's going to settle in for 4th place. Robbo as well looks like he's going to be settling in for 3rd, unless he's getting himself closer to Kutch and Squirrel on these next few laps. We're not too sure.
We should probably make mention too that it's Osto's birthday today.
Oh, there you go. So
happy birthday, Osto.
Happy birthday to
Happy birthday, Osto.
Yeah, happy
silly
birthday,
bugger went and jumped out of a perfectly good aeroplane.
There you go. So there you go. Not a bad birthday present for Osto 101 to get himself in the top 5, facing the wrong direction on the opening stages on that first stint. But we are approaching.
Marty's
the final
picked up a 1 second. Sorry, mate. Marty in 4th has picked up a 1 second penalty.
Yeah.
Not under attack from there. Just a word back from the race director, Chuck Wobbly. They can't get hold of Roddy Dongs. He's not answering the calls, but all I can hear is Lee Kernighan's Boys from the Bush playing. And they believe he's practicing for the Deniliquin Ute muster next year. Hence the circle work.
There you go.
That's what we got there. So
there'll
be more to come to that. Oh, Squirrel's just had he's just had an off.
No, Squirrel's still on the track there. He's still in 1st place. So we're on the final lap here for the Johnson Lobby for the Shawfire Supercar Series. Squirrel 18 in 1st. Kutch in 2nd place, but Squirrel looks like he's just holding on to that positioning. Kutch is not opposing any threats at all for the Gridline Racing driver. Kutch done a brilliant job to fight his way through the field. Known to be, he was quite a fast driver in those opening stages, making the moves on Robbo Sport and Marty McFarlane to get himself up into P2. But the man that took pole position has led every lap of this race, ladies and gentlemen. And Gridline's triumphant return to esports, to e-racing. And for the first time in the Shawfire Supercar Series, Squirrel 18 comes around the final corner, turn 10 of the Red Bull Ring, and is going to take victory for the opening rounds. It is Squirrel 18 taking the checkered flag in 1st, Kutch in 2nd place for Black Rose Racing, and then Robbo Sport, the first of the Mustangs, in 3rd place for Diffusion Racing, and then Marty McFarty. Unfortunate for him to not get himself up into that podium positions, but will take 4th place. Osto, a great recovery drive for him in 5th, coming across the line in turns 9 and then coming through to turn 10. Hellblazer in 6th, and I would say a brilliant job by Flyboarding and Juiced Motorsport for pulling off that one-stop strategy. Flyboarding has hold on to 7th place and has done himself a great job to do that one stop.
Yeah, up 2 positions there, Spud. Yeah, he made it happen. Great drive from him. Ben Baker's out of fuel. Roddy Dons is back on the track now. Lee Koeniger's brought from the bush is now finished. He's now on the black stuff.
So brilliant driving by our drivers here this evening in the Johnson lobby. You've got DP Mario crossing the line in 8th place. So very good drive there for the debuting Rushfire Racing to get that car inside the top 8.
Yeah, so the replay seems to have stopped a little bit early. So we only sort of got to see 8th come across the line. I think everybody else was was a lap down, so that sort of completed the race as we're looking at it now. Any points from you guys that stood out for you for the race?
I think definitely my eyes were definitely on Kutch 426. He definitely put on a very good drive to work his way up through the field. I think he started in 5th place and got himself up into P2 at the end of it, and really challenging Squirrel for that victory. He tried hard, he tried his best, but unfortunately it wasn't enough, and Squirrel was the man to take the checkered flag for the first round in the Johnson lobby. So yeah, definitely my eyes were very fixed on Kutch 426, and then even as well flyboarding for Juice Motorsport to pull off that one-stop strategy where unfortunately his good mate Rusty Nuts couldn't pull that off in the Brock lobby. Flyboarding pulled that off to perfection and held on to 7th place at the end of the 32-lap race.
Beautiful. Yeah, Kutch started in 6th position. I have to agree with you there, Spud. Yeah,
there you go.
The driver of the day was there. Fly went up 2 spots. You know, he tried his the way he managed the fuel economy and kept up the lap speed was good. Kutch has got good fuel economy. He needs to have a look at the excess tyre wear. So I reckon if he can work on that, you could see him taking out a couple of podiums for the rest of the season, I think.
Absolutely, and it's definitely a good steal from Black Rose Racing. We've seen Kutch really show his talents in the GT3 Championship late last year, where he showed some good performances in that Ferrari 458 Italia, and he's done himself a really wonderful jobs. Also racing around on other leagues as well, and then especially now he's showing his pace and he's showing his credibility in the Shawfire Supercar Series, where it's all about the drivers really just trying to perfect that tune. And really trying to make those cars work. But it is a Camaro 1-2 in the Johnson lobby. 3 and 4 belongs to the Mustang, with the first being Robbo Sport for Diffusion Racing, and then we have Marty McFarty in 4. So a lot of work. So a bit of work to do for the Mustangs in the Johnson lobby to try and take victory the next time out, where we will be in Croatia. There, Squirrel.
Yeah, it's Dragon Trail Seaside, so that one is going to be a ripper, especially with the death chicane and the instability of these cars at certain ride heights. Those curbs are definitely going to be something to contend with.
Well, this is where Fly with his, because someone commented before in the channel that Fly's car was a taller ride height than everyone else's. Have they already looked at a tune for the next event? Is Fly someone that can get in there and?
Yeah, it could definitely work for Fly, but unfortunately with a car when it's set up really high, it can really produce a lot of understeers. So there's something that he doesn't really want, especially for a fast-flowing circuit that is Dragon Trail Seaside, where there's only 4 major braking zones on that track, and it basically forms like a triangle shape that we have at Seaside. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these cars perform. We'll be seeing a lot of speed and a lot of fast-paced racing at Seaside next Tuesday, where we have both Brock and Johnson Lobby duking it out again. And we may have a new winner. We may have a double winner. So can Squirrel get 2 out of 2? Can Rolls make it 2 out of 2 in the Brock lobby? We'll find out on Tuesday night.
Yes. I think that what we saw tonight in the Johnson lobby for the second split was some really good driving in relation to racing room and clean most of the mistakes that we saw were, driver induced as opposed to, bad behaviour. So that was fantastic to see, especially in the second split.
Yeah, absolutely. And also we also have a man that did take victory in the Johnson Lobby in Squirrel 18. So that's a big congratulations to you, Squirrel, for taking that victory.
Thank you.
So what did you think about that? What did you think about that race? Like, how did you see that race play in your hands in real time?
So I've actually uploaded a stream to my own channel, which I guess describes exactly what I was feeling at the time. But it was about consistency. I think starting on pole was the key, especially I do like Red Bull Ring, and I just had to remain consistent, not go away from the game plan that the team boss of GLR and I had spoken about in relation to fuel saving and that sort of stuff. And the strategy worked. It played out. Had a few, mistakes along the way, which brought Robbo up. First it brought Marty up, and then it brought Robbo into the game, and then it brought Cooch in the game a bit later. But I was able to sort of steady the ship and get the consistent driving back into to remain in the front. My biggest concern was getting behind a Mustang. Those things have got so much power that I was definitely concerned if I got behind a Mustang, I might not be able to reel them back in for an overtake.
So who was your main threat throughout that whole race? Were you actually keeping an eye on one of those drivers that you thought, he has the potential to pass me and take the lead and victory in round one?
Yeah, so Marty and I are really close, I think, in our driving capability, and when with him in the Mustang, it's a threat. And as I said, if he got in front of me, I had real concerns about getting past him. But I had him in Sector 2, and we even spoke about this, after the race, that in Sector 2 I seemed to have a bit more legs on him and could pull away. That wasn't the case for Robbo or Cooch. So if they were close to me, I was concerned about them both equally, because they are very fast drivers, and I think a level above myself. And it was just about not making the mistake that brought them into contention. So as long as I could keep them both in the rear vision mirror and just drive how I wanted to drive, I stood the best chance I could. But yeah, I think those three drivers were equal threats, and I was just keeping an eye on the rear vision mirror every single time we came out the pits.
Absolutely. So, and as Kez mentioned earlier, that Cooch started in 6th place, so, and he moved his way up into P2 at the end of the 32 lap race, putting on a lot of pressure, putting on some great overtakes, and working really hard to get himself up towards the front. He did himself an excellent job to get himself up into P2 at the end of the race, just short of taking victory for Black Rose Racing. How much of a threat was he, especially as he was making moves on Marty, and then he also made the move on Robbo, and he was coming thick and fast towards you?
Yeah, so he was making good gains towards the back end of that race, and he was closing the gap, and I was very cognizant of